Musical Miracle.
Yep.
Do you know why they put their name in Japanese?
I don't.
Because I don't think they're from Japan, and I don't think they're ethnic Japanese. They're from Miami, Florida.
Well, um, the original band, because this was actually a side project by a band called Tally Hall. The original band was from Michigan, actually.
I
I believe.
remember. Yeah, Joe Hawley.
Hmm.
Oh, it's right. Yeah, Rob Cantor who did the Shia LaBeouf.
Yep, he was one of them. Tally Hall was it was an indie rock band. I think it consisted of 5 guys,
Yep, I
and
see that right now.
mhm, and they were all
Marvin's Marvelous Mechanical Museum.
they were all they had like this, I don't know if you would call it like a gimmick. They would just wear different colored ties, and Rob Cantor was the guy in the yellow tie.
Hmm.
And this album specifically was made by one of those guys. It's a little strange because it wasn't just made by one of them. The one that made it, he went back to school basically because they had an album come out in 2011. I think it's called Good versus Evil or Good and Evil. I don't remember.
Yep.
I actually listened to it. It's pretty good. Um, After that album, they all kind of went their separate ways, and one of them went back to school, and this was his side project. But he asked for help from most of them to like be in it, and you can tell that pretty heavily.
Joe Hawley.
Hmm.
Yeah, so they're out of Michigan, basically.
Hmm.
Um, have you listened to Hawaii Part 2, Part 2?
I didn't. I thought it was just like an outtakes album, so I just didn't.
It's not very many releases, or not very many ratings, sorry. Yeah, it looks like a demo slash outtakes album based on the tracks. There's like 55 tracks, and it's 2 hours long.
Yeah, so I didn't
There's a
think that
lot
was
of
anything.
it's like the Mind Electric demo, the Mind Electric demo 2, demo 3, demo 4. Yeah, it's a whole bunch of shit.
It was probably just them experimenting with sounds, I would assume.
I mean, sometimes those can be pretty damn fruitful.
Yeah, I should have listened to it.
Although it could just be like minor variations on the sounds too. So,
Mhm.
yeah. So this the genre, again using the genre crutch. Uh, it's hard to talk about music sometimes without that crutch.
That's fine.
So for neo psychedelia, it kind of sounds like some of the recent neo psychedelia. In particular, have you ever heard of Animal Collective?
No, I haven't.
Animal Collective is probably the premier neo psychedelia band of the late 2000s. Their Mew, the music board, is very heavily into them.
Mm.
I guess they might be reminiscent of Tame Impala too, which is very popular. Ariel Pink, yeah, stuff like that. Apparently Deer Hunter. Yeah, but Animal Collective kind of started a new wave of. It's almost like an art pop with psychedelia combination. I think you might like Animal Collective if you haven't listened to them already.
I don't think I listened to them. I should check them out. Because I guess I didn't pick up that this was like psychedelic. It was
Yeah, a
so
little bit.
much electronic to me.
Yeah, it's a little bit. Yeah, it's obscured. It's kind of at an interface between weird sort of bubbly electronics and psychedelia. But I think that sort of thing grew out of a more explicitly psychedelic movement. So if you want to see like a little more, Animal Collective I would probably characterize as a more psychedelic version of this. Like if you want to turn the psychedelic aspect up and have sort of an electronic pop psychedelia, that would be Animal Collective. Another band I haven't listened to all that much is the Flaming Lips.
I've heard of them. I listened to them once. It was a long time ago, and I don't remember very much about it.
Yep. Remember the band Pram I showed you?
Yes.
I think parts of their music are a little bit reminiscent of this kind of thing. Yeah, I love Pram, but I don't think you did. I think you fucking hated Pram.
Yeah, I don't remember liking them very much.
Yeah, so that's like all the major recent neo psychedelia. I could go back into like Roy Montgomery's work, but that's probably getting too far afield because Roy Montgomery doesn't really sound like, and he's not really a pop dude either. So.
Yeah, I didn't focus too hard on the genres of this album because I listened to this album a ton between when we decided to do it and now. I think I listened to it through 10 times.
Do you have any notes on it?
I have a ton of notes.
Yeah, let's go through that because all I have to offer is kind of a vague. I didn't listen to it again. I came up with an album I thought it sounded like. What's it called? It's the one I showed you with the Damage Bug, Cold Hot Plums. It's also kind of an electronic psychedelic. But that's the extent of my knowledge about the album. So whatever you make of that, it's just since you're more comprehensive.
Yeah, I found this album. I was the one that found it, and I loved it. I immediately loved it. It's probably my favorite album that I've found on my own. It's definitely up there with like Neutral Milk Hotel. Just like an album I could put on and listen to throughout the whole thing and not get bored.
Yeah. What is your favorite album? Like, I know Neutral Milk Hotel is up there. I know that Hawaii Part 2 is up there.
I would say Neutral Milk Hotel is probably my favorite album, but maybe System of a Down's Toxicity gives it a run for its money.
Sure.
Because that's just an album that I grew up with and really loved. I mean, I think it came out before I was born. I can't remember, but I discovered it during that sensitive time when you
a nostalgic time. Yeah, I kind of understand that. There's albums that I don't think I would appraise quite as highly if I listened to them today. That I really enjoy, like London Calling by The Clash. Is probably the biggest one for just nostalgia boosting its status in my mind. But otherwise, I don't know if I really have a favorite album. There's so many. They're so different. But
oh yeah.
I just can't. And I also kind of give myself pause a little bit, like because my evaluation of an album, a lot of people have just a simple criteria of, well, if you can listen to it all the way through every time without getting bored, then surely it's going to be one of your favorites. And I kind of take pause with that because I've listened to albums where, if I'm not in the mood, I'm going to be bored listening to it. Maybe a slower album like Spiderland or something, or Soundtracks for the Blind. But then if you listen to them in a better, in a more prepared mood, maybe in a little more lethargic or slow mood, they're masterpieces. Like they're like some of the best things you've ever heard, and some of the like most emotionally resonant things you'll ever hear. But then even after that experience, you could hear it again when you're not feeling that way, and just say, this is boring. Why did I feel that way when I listened to it? So albums are so mood dependent, I feel like, that it's hard to even establish a personal favorite, let alone like an objective best, which obviously doesn't exist.
Right.
But even a personal favorite is hard to pinpoint.
That's exactly right, because it's like music has so many like genres. You can have a favorite like slow album, favorite fast album, and it's gonna be completely different.
Yeah, even those are pretty broad though.
Mm-hmm.
Slow albums have different feelings to them. They hit different points of your psyche, and it's hard to even, like, every album is just kind of, you end up kind of thinking after you listen to enough music, every album is just kind of its own thing.
Right. I also really love Robert Wyatt's album.
Oh yeah, Rock Bottom. That's a really good one. If you haven't listened to it yet, Soft Machine's Third is a work from a band that he's in that's also a Spooky 9. That one is an excellent album as well.
I haven't listened to them, but I knew the band.
Yeah.
Because his album, when I say it's one of my favorites, I am honestly talking about like kind of like an artistic way, because it's such an emotional album that I don't want to listen to it again, because it was quite the experience of like, God, this made me kind of depressed with how emotional it was.
It's extremely intense. It was one of the most intense albums. It's not loud or anything, but it's just, that album's just excellently done in terms of artistic quality too, and creative content. That might be one of the top albums ever. It seems to give off an air of like more serious art music that not many albums give off. Mm-hmm. But maybe we should continue about Notes on Hawaii Part 2, since it's kind of the linchpin of this episode.
Well, yeah, this is like our first episode back in a long time. We can talk about whatever the hell we want. So, I loved this album a lot. I would say that it's currently my top album to listen to. I listen to it in the car all the time. When I was driving to your place, I think I listened to it twice all the way through. And then whenever I'm just kind of doing anything really, like when I'm working out, I listen to it. When I am studying, tutoring, I listen to it. And it's mostly because it has so many, like you talked about the psychedelic genre, and it feels like it has so many different genres shoved into it.
Yeah, it's almost like an entire movement. Listen as a subgenre. In fact, like 90% of the important albums that were released in like the late 1960s were some like flavor of psychedelia, and that everything kind of unorthodox was called psychedelia too. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like the name of this band felt so appropriate, because this album felt like a musical. All the songs were connected. At the beginning, I could hear it telling a story. So it starts off about loneliness, and even the one of the songs was called "An Island Unto Itself," so it's like an island by itself, kind of rhetoric.
Yeah.
And then it starts getting into like meeting a girl, and then later they get lost in the woods, and then I have no idea what happens. The album just kind of goes nuts with themes.
Yeah, I kind of like I kind of like making up my own visuals or slash story to purely instrumental albums or albums that are like 80% instrumental.
Yeah, that's very good insight.
Yeah, I like to. I mean, I think that's something humans naturally do. Is when they hear sort of a complex piece of music that gives a lot of leeway for thought as to what it's alluding to or why the author wrote the piece in the way they did. Kind of just sit down and visualize kind of random shit.
Yeah.
To kind of go along with it, like a music video in their own head.
Yep.
And kind of a concept, like I remember a lot of albums I come to really enjoy the most when I'm sitting and listening to it, just doing absolutely nothing else. And then it'll click because I'll find sort of a visual, spatial universe in which the album perfectly aligns with everything and then like highlights the aesthetic of the album, like in my own head with the visual space that I kind of give it. And this happened with Trout Mask Replica. It happened with the Velvet Underground and Nico. It's happened to a lot of albums that I didn't initially understand or like. There is no understanding. That's like a weasel word people use. Understand the album now. I didn't like the album at first, but then I had an experience where I made kind of a cinematic companion to the album in my head, and then I really liked the album after that.
It's cool. I know what you mean, because, oh man, there was one album that I listened to quite a bit, and I didn't care for it. And then when I saw it from a different context, like from a story perspective or from an artistic perspective, then I liked the album.
Yeah, and sometimes it takes multiple go-throughs. Like, sometimes I'll try, like, thinking of an album in a certain way, and I still won't like it, even though I figure out some sort of, like, universe in my mind where the album kind of fits. But then I'll find one that fits way better, and then I'm like, now I like the album, because I can think about that every time I hear it. Or I'm gonna think about that every time I hear the album. It's kind of weird.
No, that's fine, man. I used to do that as a little kid. When I would listen to a song, I would usually make a story to go with it, and the story would usually involve me doing something related to what the lyrics were. It sounds like exactly what you were doing. The biggest example for me would be there was some freeform jazz album you showed me, and I hated it. Yeah. And then a buddy of mine said, some random buddy was like, oh yeah, I listened to that album. I love that album because I found it at a time in my life where everything was so hectic that it's like, this is how my life feels.
Yeah.
And then I understood it, or I didn't understood it, but I
liked it better.
Liked it more. Because I had a different perspective on it. This album, I have no idea what it's about. It seemed like a musical love story, and then it hits the, I believe, the Japanese song. There's actually a song that's in Japanese, I think. The title of it is in Japanese characters, but I don't know what the lyrics are. They sound Japanese, and then I think for a little bit they're not. So once it hits that point, I just have no idea what it's about anymore.
Yeah. I kind of like that the best, though. Like, there's no... lyrics can be sappy and stupid if they're too ham-fisted, and they can kind of ruin the song.
Yeah, we kind of touched on this. We didn't really touch on it, but it's kind of like when we watched Annihilation. Everything about that movie was great, except the dialogue, and you can kind of think of that as...
One album, I think the Annihilation... Remember when I showed you Morphine? Their album Good? It's the one where it's like a jazz band and then it's like Mr. Mackey from South Park singing.
I think I remember that.
It's like, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
That is one where the singing and lyrics just... I wish they weren't there, because the background music is actually really... I think it's really good at points.
Mm-hmm.
The saxophone and bass and percussion, it all really blends together really well. It's really cool. And they have one purely instrumental track, which I think is the best track on the album, because it doesn't have Mark Sandman's annoying vocals over it. But...
Yeah. Every time I listen to this album, I actually find a new favorite song. And it's kind of like I'm rediscovering it every time I listen to it. Like, the way I found this album is I believe I was on Spotify listening to, not a recommended radio, but a song playlist radio, because you can click a song, you could go to song radio, and it'll give you similar songs. And I believe I did that. I thought I did that for the entire album of Neutral Milk Hotel, but I don't think that's right anymore. It had to have been something else.
Yeah.
And the song I found was Labyrinth, which, if you don't know it by name, it's the song with rapping. Like it has a girl singing kind of a normal lyrics, and then a guy raps a little bit, and then it has like this chiptune style music that goes along with it.
Yeah.
And it's honestly probably one of the most normal or like non-innovative song in this album.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say innovative, just clever would probably be the better word.
Yeah.
And I really like that song still, even though it's like a normal everyday song. I like it, and that was my first like favorite.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I listened to it more, I really started to love Time Machine, which there's nothing too special about that song. It's just an auto-tuned voice singing about a time machine, and it's kind of slow and kind of pretty. And then the chorus hits in, and it gets slower and more drawn out and epic.
Mm-hmm.
And it's all about you going into your time machine and living your dreams, but then it doesn't work. It like fails. And the end of the song is really sad. It's just him. Well, it's not the end of the song. It's like 3/4 through the song. The lyric is just literally, I'm alone, and then the song kind of stops.
That sucks.
And it's, oh god, it's just so pretty to me and beautiful. And so that was my favorite for a long time. I still listen to it like every day. And then there's a song on the album, I believe it's called Electric Brain. Let's see if I can find it. Oh, I have the album pulled up on my laptop over here. As long as my laptop will turn on. The Mind Electric. That song, it's a 3-minute song played backwards, and then it's the same song played forwards. I don't know if you caught that the first time you listened to it.
I probably didn't.
I love that idea. And when it goes backwards, it sounds really cool. Like the little just noise of the backwards like electronic music is really interesting.
Yeah, Robert Wyatt had kind of a similar idea in Rock Bottom.
Yep, that's right.
Yeah, he is singing forwards for a while, and then all of a sudden you notice like his voice sounds like kind of weird and jumpy, kind of like, you know how backwards voices sound when they're played back. It's like weird jumps.
Yeah.
You notice he's singing backwards, and that a lot of the track is backwards, and it's like a seamless. Like I didn't notice until like the third time I played it. It's like, he's singing this part backwards, and then he's back to playing it forwards.
Yeah, that's such a good album for that. That was one of my favorite parts of that album. Yeah, I love the Mind Electric. It's different because the whole thing's backwards, not just the lyrics. And I remember I remember the drum being backwards in that Robert Wyatt song. Wasn't it backwards the whole time, like the instruments?
I'm not sure exactly. I know some of the instruments are also backwards, but I'm not sure to what extent exactly.
Right. Yeah, so the Mine Electric is one of my favorites. I think it's my newest. Well, that's not true. It was my second newest favorite. Like, I started really loving that song like 2 days ago, and then I actually listened to this album one more time today, just to make sure that just to absolutely make sure that I listened to it.
Mm-hmm.
And Stranded Lullaby is the second to last song, and it's just a really, really pretty song. And that's the song I just like discovered today. It was like, wow, the song is just like, it's the only song where the name of the album makes sense. Because it actually has like a guy playing a ukulele and just singing a pretty lullaby over it.
Yeah.
Like, this is kind of like a Hawaiian song. Like, oh, Hawaii Part 2, cool.
Oh, wait. Yeah.
And so that's like my new favorite. I do think this album is kind of boring in the top half. So the intro song is like this cool, like almost 50s style song, which reminds me a lot of Fallout 3, and I love that. And then it kind of goes into these almost like 4 songs where they're just kind of boring.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say boring, but they're not memorable to me.
Yeah.
Like Island Onto Itself, Isle has like this 90s drum beat. Like, I don't know if you watched the Powerpuff Girls, but they had like their opening like like that shit, and it's like in every fucking 90s anything.
Oh, that's the is that the what the something break?
Something break. It's like I'm pretty sure it's a really famous drum beat.
It is it's from the it's like the Amen break.
I never heard it referred to it like that. But the point while you're looking that up, well, you figured out?
Yeah, it's like a sped up Amen break.
God, I used to really like it, and now I just hear it everywhere, and it drives me fucking nuts.
It's the Amen break was a brief drum solo performed in 1969 by Gregory Sylvester G.C. Coleman, and it's like the most used sample. So here's a sample of it. I'll show you.
I'll listen to it when we're done recording.
Yes.
I'm actually going to take a little break from recording and check to make sure it's...
The comments on the video for the original Amen break all say Powerpuff Girls. The city of Townsville. Oh. Yeah, it's the Amen break.
Okay, so the recording is working, and that's exactly it. Powerpuff Girls is that.
It's a late '60s drum solo that's gotten reused like 4.5 quadrillion times.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just so sick of that, and I can kind of see. So when this album was going through, it felt like it was going through eras, but it did it really quickly. Like the first one was 50s, and then it was 90s, and then I kind of just got lost in the muddle. I kind of lost that idea pretty quick. Because it started going to electronic, which would be more recent, but I don't know, like 2000s, 2010s, or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's let's see. So then the next, all the songs flow really nicely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you noticed that this album, like, it's called Musical, and I brought this up a little bit ago. It makes sense that they call it that because it's like a rock opera, like Green Day's American Idiot. All the songs flow into each other.
Yeah.
And that's when I kind of noticed it was by the third song, which is called Black Rainbows. And Black Rainbows is a very pretty, almost duet between some girl and some dude singing about black rainbows. With Black Rainbow was kind of like, it reminds me of rock music from the 80s, like Dio. Rainbow in the dark! That shit. So I don't know if that's some weird homage to that, or if I'm even saying that word right. Homage? Homage?
Homage.
Homage.
Homage. I don't know.
And this is... The next 3 songs is when it still stays fairly much like a Love album. It has some pretty orchestra stuff in it. So the next song is called White Ball. And he starts introducing more orchestra, strings, horns, with electronic music. And I haven't heard too much of that. And they did it very subtly, and I thought that was a very good way to do it.
Yeah.
There was a point in the album where I wrote down something from my childhood. I had a band instructor, and he would say, sometimes it's best to just keep it simple, stupid. KISS. Just remember KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
That's actually an engineering principle.
Yeah?
Yeah, engineers use that to avoid overcomplicating designs.
And it's... I feel like this album really took that to heart. Because a lot of it was, I think in the first... No, I mean like the second song? It was like just the drums, and then the bass, and then the person singing. Like there was only those 3. And then with some really sprinkled in light opera-y music, or chorus-y stuff, or stuff like that. And I thought that was very good. And then he starts getting really complex with the Mind Electric when it's forwards and then backwards and then stuff like that. So one interesting thing that I didn't quite get, is maybe you did. The first song starts very 50s, and then it's really short. Like the first half of the album is kind of short. It's just like 5 quick songs. And then after that it hits like, the Mind Your Electric is like a 6-minute song, Time Machine is 4 minutes, and then the last song is 7 minutes. And the last song is kind of like a full version of the first song. Because it starts with that very 50s, it starts with the same exact lyrics even. And I didn't really get why... So the first song was called Introduction to the Snow, which was like, okay, I don't know what the snow is, but it's basically just an intro to the album. But it's not like the rest of the album at all. It's completely different. And then the last song is called Dream Suite in C Major. And C here is spelled S-E-A, which I never saw that pun before. I liked it a lot. Sounds exactly like the first song. So I didn't really know what they were going for with the whole... This is the intro, but it's not like the rest of the album, and then the outro is like the intro. That confused me quite a bit.
Well, it's a common trope. If you if you listen to The Wall by Pink Floyd, it starts out with this like slow accordion piece, and then it breaks out into this like arena rock piece. Then it goes through the entire album, and then at the end it sort of devolves back into the same melody they were playing before. And at the end of an album, a guy says, "Is this where?" And then the album ends. But if you loop the album, he says, "Is this where we came in?" And you hear a guy saying, "We came in" at the beginning of The Wall. So that's why he's saying that. He's like, is this where we came in?
That's pretty clever.
So it loops around, yep. So that
like
kind of sounds like what the wall was doing.
I need to listen to that album more. I know I kind of want to watch the movie thing. I've had a lot of friends watch the movie The Wall and be like, man, this is great.
I don't know if I want to watch the movie The Wall. I'll probably watch it sometime, but I've never seen the entire thing, just bits and pieces.
It's basically just a music video. And that's like it. It's supposed to be really psychedelic.
Yeah.
Let's see. What else was I to say about this album? This album wasn't innovative. I didn't hear anything that I hadn't heard before.
Yeah.
In fact, I listened to an album by the original band, Tally Hall. I listened to their latest album, which I heard was not their best one, because they have 2 albums on Spotify. One out in 2011 and one out in 2008. So I listened to the one in 2011. And it's very similar. Like, it's similar with the singing and then the style, but the electronic stuff is all different. The weird language is all different. The different styles are all different because they're basically just a rock band, like an indie rock band, and I don't even know why they're indie. They just sound like a generic rock band to me.
Yeah.
And I still liked it. I liked it quite a bit. I'll listen to their album more. But this Miracle Musical Hawaii Part 2 was just so much better to me. Just because it was more interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably the most creative member of the band when he broke off and was able to have leverage over his own project actually came up with something interesting sounding. As opposed to, I mean, that can happen a lot. I think it sort of happened with Pink Floyd, where the only really interesting guy in the band was Syd Barrett. So they made really interesting albums to start, and their albums are fine in the '70s, and I even really like some of them. But they're definitely more bland. Like, they're definitely less interesting when they're under the leadership of Roger Waters and David Gilmour.
Yeah, the title of this album, Hawaii Part 2. No idea where it comes from.
I never have any idea why. Well, sometimes it's obvious where album names come from, but most of the time I have no fucking idea why they named an album something.
Yeah, there's not even a Hawaii Part 1. Like, this is the only... Well, I say only album by this band, but there's some sort of outtakes album thing.
I see that a lot. Not with albums, but song titles. I see like something Part 2, and then there won't be a Part 1. Kind of annoying.
I don't know if it's supposed to be like an edgy thing, like a teenager thing, you know, like.
There is no Part 1. I think it's just like a common joke, like.
Yeah, like in remember in Steins Gate, he would always name his equipment like the Voltron version 3.7 Trial 2, and it's like there's only one.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just like those kind of people thing, or what it is. Yeah, it seems like all of the band members, though... Oh! I'm losing ya.
Connection bad.
Yep. Oh. Just trying to wait for this to pass before I keep talking. Oh. Well, if you can hear me, then I'll keep talking. It seems like all of the band members here went on to do something Like, if you go to the Wikipedia, you can't actually find a Wikipedia article for Miracle Musical. You can only find it for Tally Hall, and Miracle Musical is like a single line in that Wikipedia article.
That happens a lot. Like a very aesthetically innovative or significant or good album is just like nothing. And meanwhile, every tiny little Beatles release has like a 3-volume book written about it.
What is this right here?
Like every retarded little ditty the Beatles ever thought about. Every fart that Paul McCartney ever had has a 6,000-page essay written about it.
The biggest one I know, which isn't really fair, is Rob Cantor. Because he makes fucking meme videos on YouTube. Yeah. That everyone in our friend group knows pretty well, because we're in love with Shia LaBeouf. To like
how times change.
I still love that and listen to it every once in a while.
Yeah, it's a funny song. That Shia LaBeouf lost his mind.
He lost his mind a ton. I think he lost his mind after that was made, or before that was made. Even.
Yeah.
And no one seemed to like truly care. There's one guy, there was one other one that I think was kind of famous. He had some sort of album, I think it was called Out, or the band was called Out, not really sure. He was mentioned quite a bit. And then this guy made this album, and this album's freaking fantastic. So I definitely want to find the other guy and see what he did. Because there was 2 other ones, but I didn't read the article that closely, because I didn't want this podcast to be, let's just read the Wikipedia article. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But Tally Hall, they could probably have their own podcasts, because they did so much stuff. They were pretty ambitious guys that I don't think I've heard of before, and they just kind of seem to have gone bonkers with material. Like, they have their own TV show, a bunch of 2 albums. Every member of the band does their own stuff. Interesting guys, in my opinion.
Yeah, you don't want to... A lot of podcasts and reviews kind of fall into the trap of just being the Wikipedia synopsis.
Some people like that kind of stuff, though. Like,
God, why?
In my tutoring job, these people are like paying a good amount of money to get tutored by me, when really they could just Google the problem and they'd find billions of examples about it. And what bothers me about it is, it's like, why don't you clearly don't want me to help you. You just want the answer. So why are you paying money? It's such a weird thing to me. But it's okay, because I get paid. So whatevs. Let's see. Do I have any specific notes? I have a lot of stuff where I just wrote, at this time period, super cool piano or bass.
Yeah. Again, I think that what I'd like to be able to do a little bit more, although I don't know how to do this outside of classical very well, is to be able to describe the compositions more accurately than just like really funky or really cool, or just like vague general terms that may or may not be accurate.
Yeah. I honestly don't mind. How does this work again? Oh, there we go. This album right now, honestly, is like everything I look for in an album. Because I've gotten so into more of like a funky, disco-y style of music genre that when I found this album, it was like, man, this is like everything I was looking for when I go looking for like new disco, and new disco isn't really a thing.
Yeah, I remember, recently I've been looking for, like, hey, Tyler, do you know of any, like, funky, disco-y type things? And I give you some examples, and you'd always be like,
Because they all suck.
Not exactly.
It's not like your suggestions suck. It's just like, why do people who make this music just suck?
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a little harsh, but it's just kind of like my opinion. Like,
Yeah,
I swear Daft Punk was the only band that did it well.
I recommended stuff based on, the description of what you're trying to get, but I honestly thought the stuff I was sending you was, like, kind of meh.
Mm-hmm. And if you go to, like, Rate My Music, the top album for, like, new disco is the Daft Punk album, which I love. I love that album.
And then after that, it drops off a cliff.
Yeah, it's just like this. The next album is so boring and so garbagey. And it's
like
all like 60s stuff, and that's maybe not so much 60s. Like, I appreciate that music, but it's boring now. You have better equipment. Like, the sound quality of disco albums just sucks. I just don't know why. It just absolutely sucks. So I was really happy to find this album, because it's super close to it's like exactly what I was looking for.
I'm glad you found your true love, Austin.
The only thing that I didn't want was I don't appreciate auto-tune.
Yeah.
Like, at all. Like, there's a band, Tupperware Remix Party, who is also very what I'm looking for in a band, but they only really do auto-tune. Sometimes they'll have a guest singer, and whenever they have a guest singer, it's like, man, this song is exactly what I want. But other than that, it's like, this is not what I am looking for. So happy to find this album. I've been finding a lot of random songs that fit what I want.
Yeah, you should just make a mixtape for yourself.
That's essentially what I'm doing with Spotify, right? I just kind of take the random songs I like and put them in my starred playlist, and I just listen to my starred playlist.
Yeah. I mean, albums are all... I mean, the concept of an album is kind of a scam. You can just put together your own track listing. Why not call that an album?
Well, it's because albums should have some sort of flow to them, and like story and feeling, but some just don't.
So yeah, some albums are just a random collection of tracks. There are even great albums that are just like a random collection of tracks.
Yeah, like whenever I'm like, I want to listen to a Queen album, their albums fucking suck and are incoherent, but they'll have like one just gem in like a pile of dirt.
Yeah.
It's just like, so you're just basically one-hit wonders, but do you write this song and then just be like, we have to put this song on an album?
Queen aren't one-hit wonders. They're like 15 sporadic hit wonders over a period of 20 years.
That's what I mean, is like, they have like one hit off of an album that's just awesome, and then...
Queen would come out approximately with like one gem of a song every year and a half or something. Mm-hmm. And then recede back into the darkness.
Jeez.
And then Freddie Mercury died, and then they didn't have anything left after that.
Did he write their songs? Is that why they just kind of stopped?
They all kind of wrote their songs, but they quit because, his voice was too distinctive for them to replace him.
That makes sense. Yeah. Actually been listening to a lot more of like random ass people from YouTube. Like my favorite right now is The Living Tombstone. And he's just got these random songs that are really good, like My Ordinary Life by him is my favorite right now. And then I think he has one other one, Epoch. I actually listened to Epoch by Living Tombstone I showed you. And it's a remix of a song, and I listened to the original song, and the original song sucks. It's like half the speed and really boring.
Yeah.
Like it's like a guy recorded him singing a song, and then half the speed, and then made the instruments around it, and it sounds really bad. And then Living Tombstone was like, well, I'll just put his voice back to normal, and it sounds really good. So that's kind of interesting. And then I've been listening to video game soundtracks, and I found one band that I really like, but I haven't really explored too much. The band is called Scandroid, and they're on Spotify, and they're a lot more electronic. They have one song called The Force Theme, where they take the theme music of Luke Skywalker from, I think, The Force Awakens, or he's not in Force Awakens, The Last Jedi. I'm not sure. I don't actually watch those movies. He takes that theme music and then makes it electronic, and it sounds really cool.
Huh. I like to look into Bandcamp bands.
I have a buddy that really likes using Bandcamp, and is that the other? Yeah, Bandcamp. But he likes, I would almost call them meme songs. It's usually just some random garbage.
on Bandcamp, like the new board on 4chan will make their own albums, and they're all trash. Like they're all just like trash dumps. It'll be like a combination of some guy singing, blaring into his guitar, or into a microphone with his guitar from like a really low quality microphone. Then the next track will be like sampling Hillary Clinton speeches and like mashing them together to create some dumb lyrics to like a beat boopy soundtrack. Just random shit like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not my type of music, I guess. Like, he really likes Donkey's album.
Oh.
And man, that is some bad music. I shouldn't say bad music, because I'm kind of one of those people that thinks all music is good music. But man, I just think it's bad.